Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. I'm your host, Brendyn Jones, joined as always with Nithin and Reddy on this pretty nice Wednesday. I had a good day. How are you feeling?
Well, for me, it was nicer earlier in the day.
Definitely.
I was walking out in just a long sleeve shirt and sweatpants, and I went to work for a few hours. Then I came back at like 4:30, and I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of cold." So I gotta put on a jacket.
I had class today until 3 or 3:30ish. But I went to the grocery store before that class, and I was like, "Man, it's so nice outside." And I was like, "You know what? People are going to be out here playing basketball." I'm in a video production class, and I was like, "Oh, let me go shoot, guys playing basketball, see if I can get some good shots with that." It was warm when I first got over there, but as I was there for maybe like 20 minutes, it started to get really cold. So I wrapped up filming. Hopefully, I got enough. I'll see what I'll look at it tonight and tomorrow. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to get outside. It was nice to be, sunny really early in the day, and it's supposed to look like this, a few days for the next 2 weeks. So I'm very excited, very happy.
Yeah, and it's a full 180 we've turned from, was it like a week ago when it was 0 to 10 degrees.
Yeah, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, and couldn't walk outside.
Yeah. With the good weather comes bad basketball, I guess. Illinois got their 7-game win streak snapped last night by Michigan State, an unranked Michigan State. Michigan State that sits, I think, what were they, 10th in the Big Ten? 9th maybe?
Not good.
Not good. They're not a good team. It's Michigan State, blue blood, but they're not good. Illinois is just a tough outing. You saw it, from the beginning of the game. Shooting really poorly. A lot of turnovers. Not a lot of people scoring. Kofi Cockburn was very, very limited in this game. I would assume it was pretty limited in this game. Most of the offense coming from Trent Frazier, which is sort of an oddity sometimes. But Illinois lost to Michigan State 72-81. Had some resemblance of a comeback in the making. That all kind of went out the window pretty fast as soon as it came through. But yeah, I mean, there's no real going around it. Illinois, just fumbled this game.
Yeah, it's probably their worst performance of the year. And, I mean, one stat just jumps out to you easily. It's the free throw shooting.
100%.
The free throw shooting was terrible. And specifically, 2 things I want to point out. Kofi Cockburn, I think he was 3 for 10 from the line. He's a bad free throw shooter, but he just never got in a rhythm. He never was able to finish off these plays because he had a couple dunks or close to dunks that were fouled, and then he'd go to the line and he'd split or miss both, and it was a problem. The other thing that stood out was Io's chance at making a 4-point possession. He gets a flagrant foul, it was a scary fall for Io. Goes to the line, misses both free throws, gets fouled, splits the free throws, only gets 1 of 4 points. It turns what could have been a 6-point game into a 9-point game. And from then on, it really just felt like Illinois didn't have much of a shot.
Yeah, that was tough. Fouls were a big thing last night. I think you'll hear a lot of Illinois fans complain about the refs. I don't think this game was anywhere near the refs' faults. Of course, there were some calls that could have went the other way, but
the problem is there were a couple that just really stood out.
Yeah,
and specifically for me, at least, the DeMonte Williams, what should have been forced turnover.
Yeah.
It was so clear. Teddy Valentine's right there. DeMonte Williams strips. I think it was Aaron Henry. I'm not positive on that. It goes off the Michigan State's leg, clear as day. They're 2 feet away from each other, the ref and the play. It lands out of bounds, and it goes to Michigan State. And it's sort of like, obviously, as an Illinois fan, you end up complaining more about the calls that go against you.
Right.
But that one was blatant, and the Kofi Cockburn flagrant foul was another tough one where you're like, I personally thought it could have been 50-50, so I wasn't too upset. But I know a lot of Illini fans were really upset that wasn't called a flagrant.
I think that DeMonte Williams strip hurt so bad because it felt like that was like in the middle of the momentum of, hey, Illinois can swing this if things go their way. And that was just one thing that did not go their way. Obviously, that Kofi foul when he gets hit on the head. Anytime you see a guy get hit on the head, you kind of want them to at least review it. They did review it. They thought it was not a flagrant. I don't see how that happens, but I mean, at the end of the day, the refs didn't, force Illinois to shoot or to miss 15 free throws in the game. They didn't, force them to miss, what is this, 36 field goals in the game. It was a bad night for Illinois, and Brad talked about that after the game. He said, that we were due for one of these games. That just is how it is. Nithin, watching this game, how concerned are you about this team right now,
I kind
if
of
at all?
tend to agree with Brad a little bit. I think we were riding a little bit too high, and I think this kind of brings us back down a little bit, where we were expecting this team to win out and then not win out the next 3 games, go up against Ohio State, Michigan, and then hey, you split that, you feel good, you're set up for a 1 seed, you're giving yourself a chance. And I think we had a little bit too high expectations because there were games that Illinois should have lost during the stretch.
100%.
The Indiana game stands out, and the Nebraska game. Neither of those teams are good, specifically Nebraska. Nebraska is so bad this year.
Yeah.
And Illinois should have 100% lost that game if it weren't for Iota Sumu being insanely clutch. And the Indiana game, I think it kind of shows with this game and the Indiana game, Illinois has its limitations when Iowa plays bad. And Iowa was really bad.
He was really
against
bad.
Michigan State. It's concerning, but I think it's nothing more than we knew, other than the fact that we're used to Illinois closing out these games because they've done it. They did it against Indiana. They did it against Nebraska. They did it against Northwestern. They've done it time and time again where they play an inferior opponent. They play down to them, but late game situation, they pull it out. This time, the lead was too big. It was, I think, a 17-point lead at
Sometime
one
in the
point.
second half, yeah.
And you can't overcome that, especially in college basketball, where if a team wants, they could just slow the game down from the 10-minute mark. And if you're down by 15 plus, it's hard to come back in those games.
Yeah. There's definitely some eye-opening things. One thing I definitely want to touch upon, Michigan State was playing probably the best defense on Kofi Cockburn that anybody has played this entire year in terms of anytime he got the ball, there was just a swarm of guys around him. And they forced Kofi Cockburn to make a decision. Is he going to, try to dribble and get out of that, which would usually lead to a turnover? Is he going to try to put it up and get fouled? If he doesn't get fouled, it'll be a miss. And if he does get fouled, he shot 3 for 11 from the free throw line that day. Or is he going to try to pass it out? And the most effective thing you would want him to do is find an open guy and pass out.
There were open guys.
There were very much open guys, especially when you're getting triple teamed in the paint. Albeit that's hard to see over guys, but Kofi Cockburn not having a single assist in the game when he was triple teamed, double teamed throughout most of the game is very hard to see as an Illinois fan when you have guys that were out there. But at the same time, Illinois shot 5 for 17. The only 2 guys to make a free throw or a 3-pointer. Trent Frazier had 4 and then Iowa had 1, but Iowa shot 1 for 6. Grandison missed his free throw or his 3-pointer. Miller missed a 3-pointer. Corbello missed a 3-pointer. It's hard to see though, when there's guys like open like this, and then, Kofi, who's been so dominant over the last 3 or 4 weeks, this game was bound to happen. We know the limitations of Kofi Cockburn's game. He can't really stretch the floor. When he's in there and he's getting double teamed, he's going to try to get a foul. He's an inconsistent free throw shooter. In the past few games, he's been shooting pretty well from the free throw line. But this game was just it wasn't his. It wasn't really anybody's on the team, and he doesn't pass out a lot. So those are the situations that are tough, and that's how. In March and in April, when teams scout Illinois, they're going to look at the Michigan State game because Illinois is more talented than a lot of teams, but like they were against Michigan State last night. But there are ways that you can dismantle this team. You force Iowa to go left. You force him to struggle early and often. You double and triple team Kofi Cockburn. Make him make a decision. You let guys like Trent Frazier have 22 points because it means Iowa Sumu doesn't have 20 or Kofi doesn't have 20. So this type of game is frustrating as an Illinois fan, not because I don't think they could lose this game because we both had our concerns on Monday.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating because it seems like this might be the blueprint to stop this Illinois team, and other teams, in the Big Ten tournament, in the NCAA tournament, can look to this game and be like, hey, we might not be as talented as Illinois, But if we're able to surround Kofi Coburn with solid defenders, and we're able to, limit Io's transition attempts and limit Io's, cut to the basket going right, we might be able to win this game.
No, that's a very good point because, as we've said, this is a two-man team, and you find that third option. The third option stepped up, and Trent Frazier was phenomenal. It was almost as if the entire Michigan State game plan was just, Trent Frazier, you play your game. We don't want anyone else. We don't want Io and Kofi to do anything. And I thought Michigan State, yes, they played great defensively, but the Illini didn't adjust well.
Yeah.
I mean, Io, as poorly as he played, I thought he had these stretches where he'd either force things or he'd almost be conservative. It was never a balance of, hey, let me try to attack the rim and then find a guy, or then I could attack the rim and try to get fouled. It was, I don't have anything. I'll take this mid-range jumper, or I'll just sit out for this play almost.
Yeah.
The more concerning part, though, to me is the defense, because we've seen games where Io struggles. We saw it against Indiana. We've seen games where Kofi gets swarmed and he doesn't have his greatest game. We saw it against Nebraska a little bit. But with this game defensively, you know exactly what Michigan State can do and can't do. They can attack the rim. Aaron Henry, Rocket Watts, two really athletic, good driving guards. They can't shoot. So why is Rocket Watts and Aaron Henry only taking 2 threes, going 0 for 2? And Michigan State is dominating because they're just getting to the paint consistently. And that's what the game plan was. It was Michigan State, give it to Aaron Henry, and he's going to get to the basket. He made some tough shots. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he didn't make a ton of outside shots.
And what's weird about these stats that I'm looking at, like, if you were to watch that game, like, at least for me, I would have thought Michigan State out-rebounded Illinois.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive board. But that's just not what happened. It's really weird because, I mean, I guess you could contribute that to, I mean, Illinois just missed a bunch more shots. And
also, part of it skewed because there are, I think, 2 or 3 possessions where Illinois got 2 or 3 offensive rebounds.
Right, exactly. So it's stuff like that, but it seemed like Michigan State was rebounding with purpose. And Kofi Coburn is such a phenomenal, player. And, he only had 6 rebounds. I was reading Io's stat line. So 6 rebounds, like, for a guy that's the biggest man in the conference, should not happen, right? You need to go and rebound the basketball. You're here for 2 reasons. You rebound and you dunk.
Yeah.
And you play, good inside defense. You didn't dunk well last night. You missed a bunch. You didn't rebound well, and you didn't play interior defense well.
Yeah, and specifically with that interior defense, all he had to do was show. And he just kept jumping at everything. There were so many times when the weak side rebounder for Michigan State would come in and get a putback.
Right.
Because Kofi is doing the things we talked about earlier, like against Baylor, when he's trying to go for these blocks. Play to your strengths. You know that if you go straight up against these guards, they're not going to make the shots. So just play straight up and then recover.
That's the thing that I wanted to say was that, this reminds me of a Kofi game from last year, where he would put himself in these situations where, and we talked about this in the beginning of the season, when you're 7 foot and 285 and standing, you're reaching as high as you can and you're over 8.5 feet tall, 9 feet tall, like, you don't really have to jump against these guys who are, 6'3", 6'4". They're going to struggle, right? So, and when you don't do that, you put yourself in a position where you can rebound the ball better because you're not in the air. You can recover better if somebody else gets the rebound because you're not in the air. And you don't have to force, DeMonte Williams to then play, interior defense or I would assume to play interior defense. I think Kofi needs to really look at this film and be like, in this situation, I put myself in bad situations that I haven't been putting myself in the last 7 games. Because he's played really, really good defense over that stretch where they were winning, where he was rebounding the ball really well. He was even in the entirety of Big Ten, he was rebounding the ball really well. He was showing really well on defense without jumping. And this game looked like he was reverting back to it. And maybe it's because he gets a little block happy. I mean, we all love when Kofi Coburn just sends the ball the other way. But it's something to keep in mind where these guys see if you're going to jump, they're going to put it up, and you're going to be out of position for a rebound. And most of the times, the tallest guy on the court besides or the tallest guy on Illinois' team besides Kofi Coburn on the court is 6'4", 6'5". So other guys are going to be able to get that rebound. So I think Kofi just needs to like look at this game, think about it, and I agree with Brad, right? Like sometimes you're just going to get these games, but at the same time, you have to figure out how you can be better because it looked like I don't think anything went spectacularly right for Michigan State. I think they just showed up and they played a good game. On the opposite end, Illinois showed up and did not play a good game at all. You need to figure out why you didn't play a good game and apply that because you're going against Nebraska, then you got to play Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State. You don't have a lot of wiggle room in those games anymore because you lose this game. This next 4 games is very important where you want to be in the Big Ten rankings and where you want to be in the NCAA tournament.
The irony is this is very reminiscent of 2 years ago when Michigan State came into Illinois. They were one of the best teams in the country. They had a great guard, Cassius Winston. And they're expecting, okay, we'll win this game and move on because we have bigger plans come March. And they end up making a Final Four. Mm-hmm. They lose to Illinois because they didn't realize what the challenge was ahead of them. And we've seen this over and over and over with Illinois, that they undervalue the opponent. And as a result, they make mistakes. They don't have that weak side rebounding. They don't close out as hard, and we've seen it time and time again. It's hard to see a team go into Minnesota, a venue that has been nearly impossible to win by 30 points, and then come out and lose to Michigan State, a team that has struggled immensely, and really their only good win recently was an Indiana game where Indiana hasn't played that great.
Well, at all, right. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. We can talk about this game forever, but we're going to take our first break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about what's next for Illinois, how they, rebound after this loss. Audasumu might play his last game in State Farm Center tomorrow night, which is something that just kind of hit us out of nowhere. Like, it feels like it's already 3 seasons in, and he's about to move on, most likely. But, yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to tackle. We're going to tackle so much more when we come back on Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. The start of the 2018-2019 season, it was a very different look for this Illinois team. Mm-hmm. They had years of struggle. They had a sense of where they wanted to go, but nothing had really formulated yet. It was Brad Underwood's second year coaching this team.
Still the building blocks.
Still the building blocks of what Brad wanted to do with this team. And in comes Audasumu, the 5-star guy from Chicago, who everybody, thought was going to go somewhere else, but decided to stay home in Illinois. And, I mean, ever since then, he's a 1,000-point scorer. He's some guy who's been, a real force in the Big Ten every time he steps on the court, for however many games he's played for the Illini. And as this season is quickly coming to a close, just realized that tomorrow will be most likely the last time he plays for the Illini in State Farm Center. That's wild, That seems like something that's always, been destined to happen. Mm-hmm. That there'd be a day where it's like, okay, no more Io. But when he decided to stay after his freshman year, and then last year things did not go his way in terms of how he wanted to finish the year, so he decided to come back, and he's done everything he could to make true on all those promises that he wanted. And to have that be like tomorrow will be the last time, it's pretty I don't know, it's weird. It feels weird.
It's pretty sad. I'm just gonna be straight with you guys. The thing with this whole thing is Io DeSunmu's time in Illinois, even though I'm a year older than him, it does line up pretty well with mine, because I remember when I was a freshman and I was a huge supporter of the Orange Crush, and I went to all events. I remember there was one where it was basically a bunch of people gathered together so we could welcome Io on his visit to Illinois.
Yeah.
And just the progression of how this team has come from a team that was still stuck in an old era, where they they couldn't win and they were still struggling because they just didn't have the pieces yet, to now a powerhouse, a potential powerhouse in the future. It's kind of like this chapter is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to, I mean, I know you still got some time. I still got some time too left in college, but it's almost like our chapter in college is coming to an end soon. Which is, it's
I didn't
a little
like you linking that, man.
Yeah, and he's done so much for this team, for this community. I mean, I don't know how many more beloved players there have been, or athletes in Illinois, not even basketball history, just Illinois athletics.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone talks about D. Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head, that '05 team, but it feels like Io, I don't want to say he's on a different level, but he's a different comparison in that everyone knows who Io is. Everyone knows this is Io's team, and everyone knows what Io has done to change the culture, to change this program, to completely transform a dead and just completely out of a team that tried to revive itself with John Gross. It didn't work. Had some struggles at the beginning of Brad Underwood's era. Had to completely change who they are, and it's sad to see. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of seniors leave. Trent Frazier, DeMonte, they might come back, but it's still their senior night,
right?
And this class is it's different than really any other class in my time, at least.
Yeah, definitely weird to see everything that's really happening with this team, and knowing that these are the closing games that we'll see out of the Sumu in that orange and blue. But yeah, it's weird. I don't like it. I mean, obviously I like it because he deserves nothing more. I think he deserves nothing more than to have his shot at the NBA and continue to be successful. But it's just sad that this era will be over. It's kind of scary, you know. It's like you've always had that rock in Sumu, you know, to lean back on, you know. Even when the team's struggling, you're like, okay, but we still got Iowa. Next year you won't, and it'll be a little bit of like, okay, like who's next? Like whose team is it now? Will it be Kobe Coburn if he decides to come back? Will it be Adam Miller if he takes a huge step forward? You know,
it's kind of like
Coleman
that
Hawkins.
best friend you had in high school that was always there for you.
And then now,
that knew the struggles, but was always there for you for the highs, especially. And now you're going off to college. You guys are leaving, and it's like, where do we go from here?
But I don't think it could be understated. Shout out Ao Sumu. I mean, he's just done literally so much for this. And you said like he's gonna be remembered as one of the most prolific figures in Illinois, you know, athletics history. And I just want to ask you, like, when they built his statue, which
they better.
I'm a huge supporter of the Ao Sumu Statue Club. What moment do you want them to do?
That's a good question, because last year alone, he doesn't get a statue from that, but there's so many moments from last year. There's the Michigan shot. I think that stands out the most from last year, but there's even more than that. There's the Wisconsin shot. There's just him and the team running off the court after the Iowa game. But I think it comes to this year, his dunk against Iowa. Because that is a moment. It's not his most clutch play. It's not his best play, but it's an iconic play. It's one that you remember watching, and I remember being in the stands and just seeing him do that, because it was a play where you lay it up, you get 2 points, you get back. He dunks it. He changes the game. He puts his stamp as an Illini. I hope that's the one. What about you?
It's a good one. Speaking of Ao dunking, he's been doing it so much.
He has been.
And it's something I've noticed, because, I mean, he's 6'5", right? And he's an athletic guy. He obviously can dunk. It's not like he's out there doing insane dunks, but he can dunk the basketball.
He almost had a nasty
last night. He almost had one that ended up on SportsCenter, but it rimmed out. That would have been insane. I would have went crazy. But yeah, I mean, that Iowa dunk is to me, like, is going to be like a very underrated moment, because it wasn't at the end of the game, or it wasn't something like that. But it's something that, especially with Luka Garza right there, not even trying to contest it, because he didn't want to end up on a poster, but
he knows.
I mean, you know, when somebody's driving and you can't play defense, you're not going to you're not a shot blocker, Luka, stay down. But you know, it's something that's very, very, like, it's something that definitely put the stamp. And it's one of those moments that was like, man, like, is Io National Player of the Year? That type of moment. But if they're gonna build a statue, I'm gonna have it be the Michigan shot.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be able to have a guy from Michigan, you know, trying to contest, and Io just going up, faking it, other side, pulling up.
Not only a guy, Xavier Simpson. Like, that's a guy.
That's a guy. And him or I think was it after the Iowa game where he was, you know, going like this spreading his arms in the crowd, something like that, something where it's like very memorable, and it's like that's Io DeSumo, and I hope they build a statue for him. I would love that. I think it would be like the perfect end to it. 15, 20 years down the line. But yeah, I mean, just shout out to Io DeSumo.
I feel like we don't need to say it though. I'm going to say it. There's no way he doesn't get his number retired, right?
Oh yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't be in the rafters. I think it needs to be.
Yeah, like, because I don't care if we lose in the first round. I want Io DeSumo's number retired for the impact he's.
You wouldn't be in the first round if it wasn't for Io DeSumo.
Yeah.
You'd be. I honestly believe if Iowa wasn't on this team, you'd look a lot like Michigan. I mean, not Michigan. Indiana. Why did I say Michigan? Definitely wouldn't be Michigan.
I mean, we saw it. That was such a close game because Iowa was bad and he
100%.
fouled out.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, shout out to Io. Shout out to the other Illinois basketball team, women's basketball team. Northwestern is on.
It might be a little too early.
It might be a little too early, but I do want to say shout out to them. They're up 19-14 in the second quarter.
19-16 now.
19-16 now.
It was 18-4 at one point.
It was 18-4. Now it's 19-16.
I'm gonna apologize because I brought this up to Brendyn's attention, and it has not gone well since then.
Women's basketball going to women's basketball. That's tough. But we hope that they are able to hold on to this now slim lead that was a 14-point lead in the first quarter. But it looks like Northwestern is catching rhythm. But yeah, I think that Io deserves everything and all the recognition for what this team has been in these last 3 years. He's just rarely do you see like a program changing talent. Mm-hmm. In college basketball, like you see it every once in a while, and Io is that. And I think it's going to be so good to watch him like just, you know, spread his wings and go to the NBA and do everything that he wants to do. He's taken everything so seriously, especially this year. You hear the stories about, you know, his family. He hasn't seen his family since August, right? Or, you know, when they visited him for his birthday, they parked across the street and they talked across the street just to make sure everything was safe. Mm-hmm. He's taking this as serious as anybody, and I just want to, you know, shout out him. You know, just shout out to Io because we did just dog on this team for 20 minutes after that loss to Michigan State. But
we dog on them because we know how good.
Yeah, that is.
It's like we're the father that's saying we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
Disappointed, man.
And it's because we know what this team can do. Yeah. I still think they're Michigan, Ohio State caliber.
I do as well. And I think the best thing about this team is that they play their best games against the best teams.
They do.
So, I mean, even the first Ohio State game when Ohio State wasn't, you know, as highly touted as they are now, it was a close game when it really shouldn't have been. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited for these next three matchups after Nebraska. But if Nebraska's a close game, I'm not going to want to watch it on Thursday.
That's one that has to be a 15-point win. Like
100%.
Just do it one time. I know whenever we say this, it ends up being like a 3-point game. Yeah. But like
I remember saying it before the second Northwestern game, and then the first half happened. I was like, oh man, finally, like I said we needed to win by 20 and they were doing it, and then they got so close, and I was like, gosh.
Yeah, it's the biggest flaw of this team that they just play down to their opponents for some reason, unless they're Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And just come out and win it. It's so simple that obviously it's not that simple. But
me and Nithin are sitting here unathletic, and we understand.
Hey, whoa, unathletic. I can touch rim. Okay, come on.
Brendyn is sitting here unathletic. Nithin is sitting here not as athletic as these guys. But
there we go. Brendyn, you're really throwing us under the bus.
I am. But yeah, I mean,
I was 6 for 6 from the line my senior year of high school. What is this?
Hey, maybe you could go shoot some free throws for Brad Underwood.
I mean, they could use it after that last game.
They needed it. But that'll lead us to our second break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we love to talk about in the NBA. There's the All-Star game coming up. There's a lot of things heating up between both conferences, and me and Nithin are going to hit on all those before we get out of here a little bit early on Illini Drive, 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive, 107.1 WPGU. All-Star full rosters were announced yesterday? 2 days ago, maybe? Yesterday. Our man, Zach LaVine, made it. I was scared. When I read the list the first time, Shams tweeted it out. I missed it. I thought he got snubbed. I was going to be very hurt. But I read it again. He is playing in the All-Star reserve position. The full rosters go this way. Oh, man, I can't find the full rosters now.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, so Eastern Conference starters, we got, well, the rosters aren't official because they're
right, because they still have to pick the teams.
But Eastern Conference starters, you got Kevin Durant, Giannis, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving.
Sorry.
Once an episode.
Once an episode, we do it.
And then reserves, we got Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, Nikola Vucevic. In the West, starters, LeBron James, team captain. Kevin Durant was the team captain for the East. Steph Curry, Luka, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Dame Dalla, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, Zion Williamson, and recently announced Devin Booker replacing Anthony Davis, who is currently injured.
Yeah. I think those are two pretty good lists. I think that they've done a good job. It's hard. The term like all-star snub is hard because you then also have to find somebody who you think deserves it less than the person that got snubbed. For instance, like Trae Young, like he's putting up like 28 and 10. But I don't necessarily think there's any guy.
Who's he replacing though? That's the thing.
Is he replacing somebody?
No, I'm saying who does he?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's anybody on this list that deserves it less. Sabonis, I think you can make that argument.
Sabonis is a fair one.
I think Sabonis may be replacing
Vucevic.
Vucevic, maybe. You could even make the argument for maybe Julius Randle or Zach LaVine for Sabonis, just because his team's a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the lists are pretty good. I'm glad that Devin Booker is going to be replacing Anthony Davis. I think that shout out to Zion Williamson for making a All-Star team in his second year. I think he deserves it. Obviously, it's hard when you go from that much hype in high school and college and entering the league, and then playing for a team that's bad, which Zion Williamson is doing. But he's putting up great numbers. He's looking really well. He's staying healthy. All the things that you want from Zion Williamson.
It's kind of funny how like the media treats him now because in college it was so much hype.
Yeah.
He's at Duke. He's making all these crazy dunks.
Yeah.
He gets to the NBA. Oh my God, that crazy first game he plays. He's
insane. Did you watch that game live?
I actually have a funny story about that.
Yeah.
I was watching the first 3 quarters of it with my roommates.
Didn't watch the fourth?
He didn't do anything.
Right.
And then someone switched the channel during the break and no one noticed. So we're just like talking and hanging out. And then they get like a text alert. Zion's going off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap. So let's change the channel. And
I was watching that with my friend and like obviously it was like, whatever. Like he's doing what he can. I mean, he's coming off injury and stuff. He's on minutes restriction. And then they put him in the fourth and then he shoots like 4 for 4.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part.
Right. And he's not a great 3-point shooter, but 4 for 4 from 3 to start. They just kept leaving him open. And then it sucked because they pulled him out when they were so close to coming back in that game because he was on the minutes restriction. But yeah, I mean, Zion Williamson has done a lot this year. He's averaging, I think, over 20.
25, 7, and 3.
That's an all-star stat line.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Even though his team's not doing well, Brandon Ingram is having, wouldn't say an off year, but not as good as he was last year, winning most improved player and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Zion Williamson is playing really well. I'm glad that he got his recognition. Just the way he plays, I don't know if there's any singular person that can guard him. Not guard him in terms of make him miss, but guard him in terms of if he misses, he's going to go back up and try to get that rebound multiple times. I don't think anybody has the energy and the bounce to keep up with Zion Williamson.
Did you see that layup he had on Daniel Tice? I think it was last weekend.
I know they played the Celtics recently. No, I did not see
it. I
know that when he bullied Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was just.
Oh, no, I did see it. When it looked like he was going to dunk on him and then he just kind of. He's huge.
It was a typical layup, but if you look at it deeply, he's going up. He gets bodied by Daniel Tice, but Daniel Tice falls back.
Right. And Daniel Tice is a big, strong guy.
Yeah, he just hangs in the air, lays it up.
Yeah, he's wild. I hope he continues to stay healthy, and I hope that the Pelicans can surround him with good pieces because I think he can be a perennial all-star type guy if he continues to round out his game. But yeah, I think I'm very happy with these all-star rosters. Would you change anything?
No, and the thing is, like, I hear like every year they do this. Who got snubbed?
Right.
We'll put some guys. I think last year is a little bit more clear with Bradley Beal not making an
Yeah,
all-star team.
100%.
This year, I look at the guys and it's like, yeah, who am I replacing them with? Devin Booker was the one that you could make an argument for, and even Devin Booker, like, I don't think he's been more valuable than Chris Paul this year. I think Chris Paul's the bigger reason why they've had so much success. Maybe Zion, you put Devin Booker over, but it's an argument.
Right.
Like,
it's not like a definitive.
It's not obvious. Sabonis does seem like one that's a little bit. That's a tough one to swallow, but he's going to get in when someone gets injured and decides to pull out of the All-Star game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I mean, shout out to the NBA. The voting process worked at all three levels: the media, the fans, and the coaches. Or 4 levels and the players. But yeah, I mean, back to the regular season that is about to come to the pause because the All-Star break. The Bulls, our Bulls, sitting pretty in 8th place right now.
Yeah,
14
played
and
good
16.
since we last talked.
They have played well since we've last talked. Their next game is today against the struggling Timberwolves at 7 p.m.
Yeah, we like to hear that.
Love that. But then they kind of have a tough one. They have the Suns, Raptors, Nuggets, Pelicans, 76ers, Heat, Raptors. That's a tough 7-game stretch.
That's tough, but you can still go like 500 in it.
Yeah, I think
Raptors
you can beat. Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, the 2 Raptors games are winnable. The Pelicans games winnable. Sixers is tough. What am I missing? Suns.
The Suns and the Heat and the Nuggets.
Suns is tough. Heat you can win.
I think
the Heat haven't been great this year, although they've seemed to turn a corner a little bit.
Yeah, 100 since Jimmy Butler's come back. But yeah, the 76ers is another interesting game because that's a game that you shot very poorly in.
You were in,
but you were able to defend everybody except for Joel Embiid. Yeah. So if you're able to kind of replicate that and shoot better, you could come out with a win in that game. You could be competitive, and that's all you really want.
My concern is that you're probably not going to shoot a ton better. Okay, you're going to shoot better, but you're not going to shoot that much better because
Philly's really good defensively.
They're a good defensive team. They're going to put Ben Simmons on Zach LaVine, and that's going to be a problem.
100%. Let me ask you a question. What's wrong with the Boston Celtics?
All right, I'm glad you asked that because I have a roommate that's a Boston Celtics fan.
Man, it's been a tough 2 weeks for him. Huh?
And it's been a tough 2 weeks for me, more importantly, because I came back. I think I was playing basketball. I came back, and he's watching the end of Celtics Pelicans, and he's just screaming at the TV. And I'll give you his perspective. He says that Jason Tatum's the problem because he's tired of seeing Jason Tatum ISO and ruin the offense and get them out of the flow. Which, I mean, there is some truth to that, but he's also Jason Tatum, who's
I think Jason Tatum's been in like sort of a slump these last few weeks, but he's also a guy that is one of the most skilled scorers in the league right now. And if you want anybody ISOing, it's probably Jason Tatum.
I understand that, but we could have said the same thing about Kyrie.
That is true.
Kyrie was an elite scorer, still is an elite scorer, and you theoretically think, all right, if someone's going to take you out of the offense, this guy, it should be fine. But problems occurred. And the concern with them is that you got Jaylen Brown, who plays really well within the offense, looks like the best player on the team right now, but Jason Tatum still walks as if he is the best player on the team. There might be some clash with that. I think part of it, though, is that like the role players have been injured. Kemba Walker hasn't been perfect. You still probably need a big because the bigs haven't worked out. There's just small tweaks that you need to make. And most importantly to all of this, Marcus Smart has been injured.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart is so valuable to that team. Even though he's going to take those 2 or 3 bad shots, he's going to make it up with 2 or 3 great plays that also brings your level of play up.
I love Marcus Smart. I've loved him for however long he's been on the Celtics. I mean, I think.
Were you not an OK State Marcus Smart guy?
No, but I wasn't I wasn't like a fan of him before then, but just seeing him, especially with the Isaiah Thomas team, stuff like that, like just gave effort. And he plays defense really well. He's one of the best defensive guards in the league. And he went from being a young guy who shot stupid threes to a really good 3-point shooter and somebody who, yes, makes some stupid decisions at times, but is going to make up for that on the defensive end and on his, spot up shooting. So I'm a huge Marcus Smart guy, and he has just a really interesting life story and stuff. Like he's been through a lot. So
I have some pushback though on you saying he's a really good 3-point shooter.
Really good in terms of he used to suck, and now he's more consistent.
Comparatively, he's an average 3-point shooter.
Yeah, comparatively, he is an average 3-point shooter. But he used to be a bad one that took stupid shots. Now he's a okay one that takes less stupid shots.
Yeah, very fair. What do you think about this Nets resurgence? Because after struggling a little bit at the beginning, Kevin Durant gets hurt, and now they're going on a run.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome because you think that if you want this team, if you're a Nets fan or you're this Nets team supporter, you want them to hit this run when Kevin Durant is playing.
Yeah.
You want them to be able to have James Harden making triple doubles, Kyrie scoring 30, and James Harden also scoring 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Have that all work together and them still be able to win, right? That's what you want to happen. When Kevin Durant gets back in this team, albeit Kevin Durant is one of the most unselfish, superstars. He's undoubtedly a top 5 player in the league when he's healthy. I think he's number 2 or number 3 when he's healthy. He's so unselfish. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. It's not like if it was Kyrie that was injured and Kevin Durant and James Harden were just going off.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these guys do like each other. They do want to play with each other. They do want to be successful in Brooklyn together. I think they're going to make it work. I think when KD comes back, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. But shoot, those are 3 top 15 guys in the league. They're going to make it work offensively.
You got Kyrie as a top 15 guy?
In recent years, like bubble 15, but when he's playing the way has been playing these last 2-3 weeks, yes, I think he's a top 15 guy.
Yeah, this year he's a top 15 guy.
Yeah.
It's can he sustain this? Because he's been incredible this year.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. So that'll be interesting. My biggest concern with this team, and it'll always be a concern with this team, in the playoffs, are they going to be able to guard big men? Are they going to be able to guard Joel Embiid? It's similar with the Celtics. My same criticism about the Celtics, which if they played a 7-game series would be, I think, really good because you wouldn't have to worry about any big men. But when they play the Sixers, when they play the Bucks, are they going to be able to defend the big man, the 2 of the best big men in the league? That's what it's going to come down to with this Nets team.
Fair enough, and we got a lot more NBA coming soon.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this season. It's one of those seasons, especially now that you see like the Lakers faltering. Obviously, AD is struggling a little bit, but you don't know who's going to win. I can't sit here and tell you who's going to win the NBA Finals, and that hasn't always been the same since.
You don't feel because I still feel like the Lakers are my favorite.
Well, I think they're my favorite too, but I still, even full health, I think they can be beaten.
Yeah, I honestly think the Clippers can still beat them because Paul George has played really well this year, and I feel like we haven't yet seen Kawhi be Kawhi.
Yeah, and I think that'll come if Paul George continues this success throughout the playoffs. We'll see a Kawhi Leonard that we saw in 2019 with the Raptors.
Yeah, that would be fun because that would be a really exciting Western Conference. I mean, Denver, Utah, we haven't even mentioned. So
that's crazy. That ends our episode today of Illini Drive 107.1 WPGU. When we come back, maybe tomorrow, I'll be in here with somebody. I don't know. Gabby has to cover the game again. So we'll see. I'll make it work, though. But yeah, thanks for listening. 107.1 WPGU.